Welcome to the Central State University Athletic Hall of Fame feature. Today we have 2021 inductee, Mr. Bryan Herd. Bryan is part of a class of 6 individuals. We'll also be honoring 2 teams, and we'll be profiling them throughout the day on our social media networks as well as maraudersports.com. Bryan, exciting times. Thanks for joining us. And just tell us, when you got the call, the initial call about being inducted into the Marauder Hall of Fame, what went through your mind?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Nick. To be honest with you, I was at work, which I had to have a little different mentality. So, and when you called me, it took a minute to digest, and once, because I'm like, okay, is this some kind of prank call? Somebody, so once I did say, okay, this is real, then the emotions kind of took over and had to take a deep breath, start kind of rewinding the clock, thinking about just so many relationships, thought about my mom and dad right off the bat, and then just really being appreciative and thankful for the opportunity. And like I said, it took a minute to digest. That's why when you called and, you were talking, I was real dry, like, yes, one-line answers, didn't really, I guess you say, engage in the conversation. So I was like, okay. So that was just the emotion part. And I'm like, I'm just going to stay calm for a minute. So then after we got off the phone, then the emotion really took over. My face was just wet. I didn't want anybody at work to see me like that. So I had to go get in a conference room, get myself together, then come back out. So a lot of emotions, and just thankful. Just thankful to God, just thankful for the opportunity. Those who voted me in, there was a lot of work put into it, and I realized that. So I'm just very appreciative.
Well, that's great. And you mentioned, you talk about how it took a second to think about, and you really gave it some thought after that phone call.
Right.
That makes sense because you're an offensive lineman, and you guys are some of the most intellectual, smartest guys on the field, which I'm sure we'll get to.
I think so.
But going in, we'll talk about the career accomplishments, which are, the resume speaks for itself. But take it back for a second. Talk about your background and, of course, what ultimately brought you to Central State.
So for myself, born and raised, city of Dayton, graduated from Patterson Co-op High School, which was downtown, and had just an amazing upbringing in terms of village, if you will, with a host of uncles, aunts, grandparents who were extraordinary, very supportive. Now, was there a silver spoon? By no means, so everything all earned, nothing given. So that was the blessing of it. So that was kind of like instilled in me at an early age. So that was it for me. Now, high school, and I can kind of, where it actually started for me was more middle school. I had some amazing junior high teachers. And the very first Centralian that I met was a lady named Miss Scott. And she was our junior high black basketball coach. And that's where the interest came in, because she would wear like Central State gear. And I would ask her, Miss Scott, where is that at? And then, of course, I fell in love with those colors. So that was kind of like the first taste of it for me, was junior high. And then as I transitioned into high school, my first 2 years had Coach Russo, who was an amazing high school coach, very involved, even had like I said, now mind you, this is 30 plus years ago. We even had off-season workouts. And then here I am coming into the program as far as at the high school level. So Coach Russo really had his act together, but had his discipline, structured workouts. So, here we are. And then unfortunately, like my junior and senior year, he takes another job. But one gentleman who really stands above him is one of my classmates, teammates, Mr. Wes Glover. He was a part of our staff as well. And Coach Wes Glover told Coach Russo, said about the second game, sophomore year, and one of the linemen was hurt. I was really just kind of happy to be special teams at the time. And then I'm going to work my way in, you know. So that was kind of like my plan. So gentleman gets hurt. So Coach Glover, he said, I don't know what you're waiting around for, Russo. He said, that's your replacement right there. So then Coach Russo said, Herd, get in there. Now, mind you, this is Welcome Stadium on Friday nights. So it's packed, especially at the era that we came up. Every game is packed on both sides. And I'm in Friday Night Lights, very excited, adrenaline pumping. So I'm like, and then that was really much, you know, pretty much the start, you know. So I have to give a lot of credit to awesome coaches that I had at the middle school, kept me grounded. But also when I got to high school, like I said, I give a lot of love and respect to Coach Russo and then also Coach Love. Okay.
And what ultimately was, you mentioned you had a teacher that always wore the colors, maroon and gold. But what ultimately drew you, you know, your senior year of high school, what drew you to Central State?
So even it started prior to my senior year. I watched the '83 Palm Bowl. They had it local, you know, for us in Dayton. So I'm watching, well, I'm gonna say Coach Woody, James Woody at the time. And then Dave Dunham was a tackle. So I'm getting the names early. You know, I'm starting to get dialed in on who's actually playing for Central because they had them flashing their names. So they're down there at the Palm Bowl. And that's where the interest started. Like, okay, Central State thing keeps popping up. And that was really the start for me. I want to say my sophomore year, high school. And I watched them on TV down at the Palm Bowl. And then just slowly started to get a little mail, a little more interest, who from the city, because at that time, a lot of gentlemen who were playing in the city and playing city ball, a lot of guys were going to school, whether it be Division I, Division II, Division III in some cases, but everybody was pretty much going to school. So I'm sitting back, I'm like, I got to have me a turn. I got to get my shot. So I started, you know, some interest and then kind of like probing around the city, see who's going where, who else is interested in Central. So, you know, it was a few guys from some other schools. And then that's where it just really, the draw for me, I just really started to hone in on Central State University.
And of course, once you were here, you know, history speaks for itself, but making an immediate impact on that offensive line. Just talk about your first year, how you were able to fit in, and ultimately, how do you make an impact on that offensive line, which was, you know, pretty talented, loaded?
I was just pretty much coming on campus and really just being a sponge, wanting to learn. So the coming from high school to college, of course, the language is totally different. Technique, the emphasis on technique from high school to college, night and day. So there was just learning that language, just learning how to get my stance properly per what the coach wanted me to do. I'm not even talking about the plays because the plays was an entirely different classroom, you know, session. And in some cases, especially with Coach Joe, those sessions lasted for a while. So it wasn't like you were going to go to sleep. It wasn't like you're going to not pay attention, because what we learned that night, you better know it that next morning, because we're going to be on the field with it. So that's how it started. So I was just trying to learn and just try to just all hustle, all effort, just, you know, really trying to say, you know what, even if I land on the traveling squad, I'll be happy with that, you know. And that was kind of what I was shooting for initially. But then as camp started going, then I started to get a rhythm, started to understand the concepts, foot technique, coming off the ball, certain angles, just starting to really learn from the upperclassmen that I had right there with me. So, and fitting in as well. So that's really much, pretty much how it started. And then I was just thankful for that opportunity.
And you guys blocked. I mean, that offense was incredible, and you blocked for some great running backs, including one of your fellow inductees and teammates,
Yes.
Terry Morrow. But as you guys, I mean, you did a lot of winning. It was very rare that you would see CSU on the wrong end of a box score. Of all that winning, Black college national champions, multiple All-Americans, including yourself. Was there a specific moment or game or games that stood out to you during your career here?
There's a couple. One of them is on YouTube right now, where we're playing Florida A&M down in Tallahassee. And I want to say this is my senior year. Okay. So that was probably the biggest game. We're down, I want to say either 17-7 or something like that at halftime, but we're down. Couple turnovers early. We end up getting a touchdown late in the second quarter, going into halftime. So the momentum was there. Going into the locker room, I had a chance to talk to offensive line coach. I even when I had a chance, I talked to Coach Joe, said, we just need to keep running the ball. And then we're going to get these guys. Defense button up. Of course, they always did anyway. That was a given. Defense was just strong the entire season. So I'm like, we're going to walk these guys down. We're going to get them. So Florida A&M, and playing down in Tallahassee, that environment, coming in and out of the tunnel. Of course, you're going to get a lot of attention from the people down south, a lot positive, even more so negative. And just to see their faces as you can see the momentum shift, and then we start taking the game over. So then here comes the running game, and then the fatigue sets in on them. And then we ultimately get the W, which was huge. But coming from like 17 down or something like that to that degree, that was huge. That was probably the biggest game. And then my first game that I ever played college ball in was up in Pennsylvania versus Cal. I want to say Cal State. I think it's Pennsylvania. Just playing out there. And then I was playing special teams and starting. So that was huge, And I was like, will I be able to hang? Can I actually compete? So then once you get the pads cracking and you look up and you say, okay, I'm still here. So those were big. Probably the very first game, because it's at the college level, not really knowing what to expect. And then my senior year, the big one was us down in Tallahassee against Florida A&M. That was huge. Of course, the classics throughout the years, or throughout my years, Circle City, Whitney Young up in New York against G State. All those games were huge. We played a classic in Milwaukee. I think we played Hampton in Milwaukee. All those games were big, but those two kind of resonate as, something that I truly remember.
And you talk a little bit about the success against programs like FAMU and Grambling. 6-0 against Grambling, by the way, Central State is. And, of course, those teams were a big part of that.
Right.
Pretty impressive resume that I think sometimes gets overlooked. But, of course, we want to continue to remind folks about.
Well, see, here's the thing on it, and we all kind of like at this stage in our lives, in our careers, we run against some guys that, either played against or played for those schools and all. Well, when you remind them of those records and some of those games, they get real sensitive. That becomes a little touchy subject. So, I always, make sure though I get my opportunity, I let them know about it.
Of course. And we love when you do.
Yes, indeed.
the All-American selections, the overall team success. I was talking to your teammate, Terry Morrow. He ran back-to-back seasons at 1,800 yards, and the O-line paved the way for that, right? I mean, that's pretty unprecedented. But of all those things, you were named in 1988 the Toyota Leadership Award winner and also the CSU President's Award winner, Arthur E. Thomas President's Award winner. Talk about, a lot of your former teammates have praised you over the years for the type of person you are, character, leadership. So just talk about what does all that mean to you?
It means I did it the right way. I actually did it the right way. And I want to say lead by example. Even though we're in the games, then I'm going to be that spokesperson, especially for the offensive line. All right. So if I'm the one individual who's making the calls during the game and outside of the game, I really like to stay under the radar and, as far as the attention and all, I'm okay with just kind of, staying in the background. But when it's game time, I want to be that person that's going to make them calls, that's going to steer us all in the right direction. And I'm going to be the one talking to the coaches about what we're seeing, what actually works, what doesn't work. And I want that responsibility. But to be honest with you, Nick, that road was actually paved for me by some of the guys that I looked up to as I'm coming through the program. So a lot of the seniors, the Mark Corbins, the Mark James, guys that kind of like paved the way. So they've set the foundation. I'm, the Greg Blacks, Taj Robinson, so, I'm learning at a young age how to, take over and how to contribute to a game. Now the transition, you say, okay, now you got to take over this responsibility. So, but I learned that from watching those guys because that's kind of where they were and that's what they did. Like let's say my freshman and my sophomore year, so all love and respect to, let's just say some of the older guys that I played with. They really helped me in terms of work ethic, the discipline, and then also from accountability. Because one thing you had to do, they were going to make sure you stayed accountable, whether it be in the classroom or on the field. You could not come up short on either end, and they would let you know about it.
And you talk about some of the models you had, and of course, you're a model student athlete yourself, and I think one of the biggest accomplishments is earning that degree, right? So talk about, the track towards earning that degree and just how important it is for every student athlete, talking to some of our younger student athletes, talking about the importance of earning that degree.
The importance of earning a degree actually started with, let's just say with my parents. And I wanted to be the first family member to earn his degree, okay? I owe that to my parents for the support and the love of, me in terms of carrying out my dreams and what I wanted to do. So getting anchored in and being established as a student athlete, learned that early age because parents would hold me accountable. There wasn't, I couldn't bring home grades that were just good enough. No, that wasn't going to be acceptable. So I had to have solid grades to even participate. But I really wanted to be, so that's where the student part came in. And then, the athlete portion of it kind of blended as well. But I really wanted to get my degree and earn my degree. So I wanted to be the first one in my family to earn that.
And as we shift, you're officially a member of the Hall of Fame now. I know it's virtual, but you are a Hall of Fame inductee at Central State University. One of the greats for current and future Marauders to follow. You are a model. but just talk about, everyone's got their own definition, right? But for you, what does it really mean to be a Central State Marauder?
Well, Central State Marauder for myself is really, I'm going to say, part of my foundation. Okay, because that's where the discipline, the work ethic, the structure, and I'm using some buzzwords right now, but it's true. Coach Joe had one rule for us, and it was do right. That was it. Now, there was a lot to that. A lot of guys could hang in there and do that. Then there's others who couldn't, so, but that was pretty much it as far as, as far as the core, establishing that. But just being a Central State Marauder, I really have wanted to be, even at an early age. And once I just start being inquisitive about the university, fell in love with those colors, start watching some of the seniors or some of the older classes and reading up on them, because they were in Dayton Daily News every week. Mm-hmm. So, I'm reading up on them, and I'm like, I'm gonna get my name in the paper for this university when it's my turn. So it's really part of my core.
Excellent, excellent. And Bryan, as we talk about all these great memories, these moments, reflections, I want you to take all the time you need to acknowledge whoever you need to acknowledge that's gotten you to this point, both collegiate career, but even after that, all the successes in life. I want you to take the moment to acknowledge those folks.
Okay, I have a sheet. I want to make sure I get this right. So, first off, I want to thank the Hall of Fame Selection Committee. Excuse me, as I read this. I want to thank the Hall of Fame Selection Committee. Truly a blessing, and to get that phone call from you, just for the consideration, I thought that was amazing. And like I said, and you heard me earlier, how that was really had me really emotional, because if you reflect back and you look at all the hard work that you put in, and then you look at the relationships that you built over the years, and then how you all are still a part of each other's lives, that's second to none. And it doesn't get any better than that. So thank you. I really appreciate that. Institution advancement and athletic department, which I believe you're part of. I want to thank you as well. Okay. And then I also had, I know there's some individuals who actually petitioned for me who had the ball rolling as far as the nomination side. I want to thank them as well for their hard work and effort. And they were working with my wife to get some information, to get a lot of, hey, what about this and what about that? So it didn't even dawn on me at the time as far as what was going on, because, I'm just kind of rattling certain things off. Said, what about this? And then, said, well, this happened and then this. So it really didn't dawn on me that they were doing the prep work for what's going on right now. So really want to thank those individuals as well. Okay. To the fellow Hall of Fame alumni, I want to thank you all. Welcome to those 6 and those teams that are coming in with me. I want to welcome you all, and I want to congratulate you all as well. Okay. One special note here is for Mr. Terry Morrow, who is when we come back for homecoming, he and I kind of like roommates, share a suite. And we would, sit around and kind of talk about, say, man, how special would it be to go in together? We talked about that for like 2 or 3 years, just bring it up, just talking, and say, really, how special that would be. And now we're actually living that. So that in itself is precious, so all love and respect for Mr. Morrow. Okay. So now I'm gonna go back. Blessings for me, and it's truly been a blessing. The entire journey up until this point has truly been a blessing, and I'm going to start with my wife. All right. And just this past August, we celebrated 28 years of marriage. So it's truly been a blessing. Okay. And I'm really thankful. Like I said, they really put some work in to get to this nomination. So they're excited and I'm excited for them and they're happy for me. So I want to start off with that. And then I want to talk about, start with my children. All right. I have three and they're going to kill me for this, but that's okay. Renee, Malik, and Elijah. So, and my three children have grown to be, let's say, extraordinary parents, and then also mentors and coaches. And then they are very, very involved and engaged with their children and very supportive. And then and sometimes what I'll do is I'll listen to them and how they mentor and work with their children. So, and then some of the verbiage that they use, you know, it's like, I just tell you that. So now they're using it on their kids, you know. So that in itself is a blessing. But they are all three are amazing. I'm going to say that. Okay. All right. Grandchildren for me, 7 total. All right. And they're all individuals, which is a blessing. What I mean by individuals is I have a couple of them that are into sports, but I also have a couple that are into art, into music, and then also one that's really heavy into reading as far as books and all that. So I like it all because it's a real nice mixture. And then you kind of let them be them and what they gravitate towards and their interests. Doesn't always have to be all sports, like, you know, like what Paul did, but they're really grown, or they are growing into beautiful young men and women. So that's it as far as my grandchildren. Family for me, and I kind of touched on this earlier. My brother, younger brother, excuse me. And then I also have my grandparents that were very instrumental for myself. And I've had a host of, let's say, aunts, uncles. So that village for myself at an early age was really established and anchored. And some of the accountability, even structure, started at that age. Okay, so I always want to take a minute to acknowledge my just my upbringing, because I've had strong grandparents, strong uncles, aunts, and they have been very supportive. All right. Okay. In-laws for me. Very, very, and I'm blessed, you know, as to where I truly love my in-laws. Rest in peace to my father-in-law, Ed Lee Foster. But I really have not only mother-in-law, father-in-law, but brother and sister-in-law. We all get along very well, and we're very supportive, and there's a true bond and a true love. Okay, so I want to, you know, just thank God for them as well, because that transition for everybody is not easy. You know, some people don't have these stories like that, but you know, I'm thankful for mine. Truly thankful for mine. And I touched on this, and I'm just transitioning through, and I'm talking about middle school and high school for myself. And I touched on this a little bit, where Miss Scott was very instrumental, very first Centralian. I love her for that. And I see her at church now. So, well, as we get back into church, coming back from COVID, I still see her and give her a big hug, because she was very instrumental as far as, you know, me at that age. You know, we really think we're better than what we are. So she really humbled me and let me know exactly how good I was, and then I needed to work. And then it was like, you know, it was like a shock to my system, but that really motivated me. And it's like, okay, here we go. And then she challenged me and said, when you get to the high school, you know, you make sure, you know, you make the paper for the right reason, you know, but they're not going to give it to you. So all love and respect for Miss Scott, especially at the junior high level. And then I touched on my high school coaches, Coach Russo at the early age, and then Coach Glover. And Coach Glover was very instrumental. He really should have been our high school coach because he commanded that much respect. And when he came to practice, the energy level was night and day. The accountability, the work ethic, there was no slacking off. It was, you know, he commanded that much respect. And then he was out there, and you could see him working and sweating and getting after it. So quite naturally, we were going to go with him, you know. So much respect to Coach Glover, all right. And like I said, that's one of my teammates from my Patterson days. That was his dad. So much respect there. And as I roll and transition into at Central State, like I said, I had a lot of teammates that, and I was like a sponge to them. I just really wanted to learn, gravitate, and I would watch their work ethics. So I have a few names here: Greg Black, Eugene Cobb, Tarz Robinson, of course my man Mark James, Marlon Jones, Jerry Parker, Johnny Bolden, and then Mark Corbin, Robert O'Neill. And then I have one individual that really I bonded to from Dayton, named Kevin Turpin. We call him Big Turp. And Big Turp was special, especially for me, because he taught me my weight room technique. And Turp was always when we would go work out, he would always have like one more rep, or you'd have one more 40-yard dash, or you'd have one more lap. So quite naturally, I had to go with him. But that work ethic, that drive to go get one more, that push, that discipline, stay after it and prepare for not only spring ball, but prepare for the season. I owe a lot of that to Mr. Kevin Turpin. Okay. So, you know, those are my earlier years at Central. But then as I transitioned into my like junior, senior year, and then now I'm the one in the foreground. I'm up front. So the responsibilities have changed, but I'm welcome to that challenge. I welcome that challenge because I want that responsibility, and I want to be that person who's calling those signals. So now here comes my crew, or some of the gentlemen who came in with me. And then and I got a few names here: Marzell Wisher, Terrence Daniels, Calvin Pettis, Henderson Mosley, Mr. Vines, okay, Mr. Wendell Banks, Sharon Shelby, Kenny Williams, Mel Taylor, my man Andre Connor, Daryl Suber, Hall of Famer from, I want to say 2019 class, Art Hunter. And then I've got some younger guys too here, Big Walt, Big Marty, Big Sean, Big Dudley, Big Crowder, the Deacon. And then another Hall of Famer who just came in 2019 class, Mr. Charles Hope. All right. So those are guys that we all kind of grew together, and we still have a special bond to this day. And it's like when we all talk or when we all get together, it's almost as if we're on the yard again. And that's special. You know, that it doesn't get any better than that. You know, so we're gonna continue to be supportive, continue to hold each other accountable, because as we transition, you know, to these years, you know, we always kind of talk to each other about doctor's visits, how critical they are, you know, our health. You know, we always kind of get on each other about that and kind of share our stories. So don't feel like it's just you, it's all of us, but that's one of the things that we truly do. Okay. A couple more things, and then Coach Billy Joe, and it's kind of like next to last for me. Coach Billy Joe was so instrumental, and he gave me, how can I put this? He allowed me to he blessed me with an opportunity to become a student athlete and a Central State Marauder. He came to visit us in January of 1985. And those who know Coach Joe, he is very polished, so he walks in, Super Bowl rings on, very well dressed, sat down and ate dinner at our house in Dayton. And he told my mom and dad that I'm going to provide, he said, I'm going to take care of your son for the next 4 years, but I'm going to need him to stay focused so we can get that degree in 4 years. So that's what he has to do. And here's what I'm going to provide. I'm going to provide him with an opportunity to be a student athlete, to get his degree and play ball. So, excuse me. With that being said, of course, my parents were bought in right there. And then he came back a couple of days later. I went to visit Central State, fell in love with the campus. And then he gave me one day and he called me and said, well, what's the answer? You gonna be a Marauder? It was a no-brainer for me. It was a no-brainer. It wasn't even, I didn't even cut out a few visits after I left Central State's campus because I was like, there is no other choice. This is it for me. So that was the blessing, so all love and respect for Coach Joe. I will forever be grateful. And to this day, he has the ultimate respect. Okay. And then last but truly not least for myself are my parents. Okay. Mr. and Mrs. Woods. And what my parents did for me was they supported my dreams. And I would watch, I watched my parents transition from earlier on, transition from some factory work. Okay, watch my mom go back to school, learn how to type, so she can retire as a human resource generalist for the state of Ohio. So initially, she was, let's say, an associate working on a line at Frigidaire, shooting screws or building washing machines. Transition to, like I said, go back to school. Transition to HR generalist, and then, like I said, retire from the state of Ohio. So I watched that. And then my dad as well started off at Dayton Walter, metal fabrication, and then watched him transition and retire from Midwest Industries down in Dayton. So one thing that my parents never, and of course, life and family, everyone's going to have ups and downs. They're celebrating 40 plus years. So that in itself is a blessing. Okay. But one thing I've never seen my parents do over the years, they never quit. So I truly owed it to them. And I said, I'm going to be the first to get my degree because I want that for my parents. So ultimate respect, ultimate love, still to this day. We just have the best time. And I truly love spending time with my parents. So this plaque, or the plaque that I'm going to receive, although my name is on that plaque, but the true Hall of Famers are Mr. and Mrs. Woods because of what they've instilled in me, and then also what they've supported me as far as in my dreams. So they are the true Hall of Famers, and I love them unconditionally. So that's it. That's my story.
And for those that are watching, Bryan's referring to our Hall of Fame plaque, which we look forward to giving to him in person. Of course, doing the virtual induction, but we will have an in-person celebration, and hopefully, family members are there for you to give that acknowledgement again. in person as we honor you for your career. But powerful words, of course, the acknowledgments we love and the stories we love. Mr. Bryan Herd, 2021 Hall of Fame inductee, and from Central State University and the campus community, we just want to wish you congratulations again. Well-deserved honor. I think earlier you said everything you have, you earned. And of course, this is just another accomplishment well earned. So once again, Mr. Bryan Herd, 2021 Central State University Marauder Athletic Hall of Fame inductee. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And thanks
really
to everyone for
appreciate it.
joining us.
Thank you. Appreciate it.